if we're talking about optional enforcement, something similar would apply in the case of SB 941 or something of that nature.
Senate Bill 941.
Yeah, that's the background checks, transfers of firearms.
Well, that's prioritization. That's prioritization. You're talking about, we, like I said, we prioritize our caseloads. Person crimes, property crimes. That's a non-person, non-property situation. So where does it fall on the list of priorities?
So where is your, because I could have sworn that you were on record saying that you weren't going to enforce that, but a lot of people say a lot of different things about that. So
I think
what's your angle?
It's context is how it's taken. I'm conservator of the peace that's my mission. That's my job. I have to uphold the laws to the best of my ability and all laws in the state of Oregon, and including the charter for Josephine County. And I'm pulling out this magazine here. It's called Freedom: The Rise of the Armed Citizen. Freedom First. It's an NRA magazine, and in this magazine they quote me as stating that I won't do that, and many members across the nation have praised me for what they thought I said or think that I said. I said that that particular bill or that particular law is not that I won't enforce it. It's that I can't enforce it. I don't have the time on the prioritization level to enforce that law. Mm-hmm. If I did, different ball game. Then it's a whole different situation. But I don't, and I'm not gonna have bodies anytime in the near future, or in the future, maybe at all, in my tenure. And that's that article in that magazine there, State of Oregon.
Now, on the same topic, we had one of our viewers posted a question or a request of us that says, I really want to request that Dale and Mike do a segment with our sheriff and police chief here and make them share their beliefs regarding the Second Amendment for the citizens of this county and city. So what's your angle on
We're here to make you do things.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say. Anything else I can do for you guys? A sandwich? What cheese? What kind of cheese you want?
Yes.
Ham
on that, yeah. Yes. Ham? Perfect. Bologna?
No, we're going to leave that up to the commissioners.
I'm just reading what he wrote here.
Right. Yeah, I don't know Bill's stance. I can't speak for Chief Landis' stance on that.
Well, what's yours?
On what?
On the Second Amendment. And
I'm a firm believer in the Second Amendment, and I think that bill is completely unfortunate. I can state that publicly. I think that bill is unfortunate. I think it infringes on our Second Amendment rights. It doesn't take away our Second Amendment rights, but it infringes upon them. I think it muddies the water. It makes I think it's a waste of money. Ultimately, it's just a waste of money. If the bad guys are going to get guns, whether me selling a gun to Dale or Dale selling a gun to me, it has to be background checked. Bad guys are going to get guns. They need to look at things like what's our mental health going on in our criminal justice system. The mental health issues in the jail we have here. We end up being a warehouse for people with those types of illnesses, and we shouldn't be here. They should be in a place where they can get better care. But the state of Oregon doesn't have that better care. They'd rather do background checks on people that want to buy a deer rifle from a buddy for their kids to go hunting. It doesn't.
Yeah, agreed. The recent case here in South Carolina really highlights some of the similarities between a lot of these mass shooters. Is that they all are on some sort of psychotropic or some psychiatric medication.
Yep.
And instead of being put in treatment as they once were. Now they're out on the streets taking over-the-counter medication. What's your angle on that?
This just like you said, it can't. Obviously, my angles. I'm not happy with that. And as a matter of fact, I have a forensics little summit coming up on Wednesday. I'm going to go to with Judge Wilkie, who's very active in trying to assist the mentally ill through the criminal justice system and getting them proper help. Little things like making sure our inmates that come in that need medication, number one, get that medication, even if it's paid for by us. But number two, when they're let out, have some supply of medication to get them by until they can bridge that gap. These psychotropic medications take up to 3 weeks to 5 weeks in that time frame to start taking effect.
Well, some cases are being made that these medications perhaps are the cause of some of these incidents, whereas and different theories abound on this, where you build up one's compulsions, and then all of a sudden they burst forth in. And of course, there's certainly nothing that you can do about that. But these are the theories that are being put out there, that some of these medications are indeed the cause of these situations.
Gosh, I don't know. I'm not a physician, so it's hard for me to answer that question, or impossible for me to answer that question. I know by experience. I can tell you that I once chased a man downtown Grants Pass who took off all his clothes, running completely naked. Tried to tase him. The taser malfunctioned at the time. I kept chasing him to try and get him under control. He was completely out of his mind. He tried to pick up a rock and kill me with it. And I saw him. I ended up taking him into custody. And I saw him 4 weeks later downtown. And he said, "Officer Daniel, I am very sorry. I totally apologize. I was not on my medication. I'm doing much better now." So, speaking from experience, I think they do help.
Yeah.
And the guy, and he was truly remorseful. And I said, absolutely. I said, "I'm glad you're feeling better. I'm glad you're doing well." So that's my take on that.
Wow.
You've had some things to say in the past about citizens who feel it's necessary to arm themselves, and about what you feel is the best policy about that in general. Do you recall what you've said? Could you characterize what you've generally said about that?
I didn't say. I feel. I don't recall saying I feel that people need to arm themselves. I don't think I.
No, I don't think you said that either. But you have said some things about citizens who do feel they need to arm themselves. Do you recall any of that? Do you want us to refresh your memory?
Refresh my
about
memory.
that? Okay.
I want to see where you got.
Well, I think it was our first interview that you said guns are not the answer, and it may well have been within the context of to our overall crime problem. But would you want to clarify? Recently, a number of sheriffs have made statements that sometimes your best bet is not sitting by the phone and waiting for law enforcement to arrive, and that perhaps if you feel that you can handle it, that you should get some firearms training and
Sure.
and have a weapon. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. No,
How do
I
you
totally. If a person is, number one, eligible, therefore they haven't had the felony and they haven't had any type of mental illness and that sort of thing going on, and they can get a gun if they want one. Sure, I think it's great. I don't think. I mean, I'm all about people carrying. I have no issue with that at all. We hand out concealed weapons permits here, and for concealed carry, obviously, often every Monday we do that. So I'm very much behind the firearms, but there are some people that probably shouldn't have them, that maybe cannot, or maybe the elderly per se, depending on their abilities to do that. When you talk about a firearm, there's a high level of liability. Because once that bullet goes down range, it doesn't come. You can't get it back. Yeah. It doesn't. You can't turn the trajectory. So it's very important that people understand, both legally and physically, that those are components, I guess.
I'm always an advocate if someone is going to use a firearm or keep a firearm in their house, that they use it on a regular basis to make sure that they're still competent with
Absolutely.
it, because it is so. You'd think that, well, again, here's how it works: you pick it up, you pull the trigger. There's more to it than that.
Absolutely.
You work with them all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was speaking to my neighbor in brief about this last the last two homicides that took place, and he's a physician, and he said that gosh, because of this thing, he's thinking about going out and getting a gun for the first time in his life. And I said, maybe you don't. You go ahead if you feel you need to do that and get the training, certainly. But baby pepper spray is good for you too. Maybe just buying yourself some time to get away and create a break is also options for people.
Well, it's a commitment that you have to be ready to take on.
That's true.
There's more to it than just going and buying a gun.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. It's a lot of responsibility is what it is. It's a lot of responsibility for the people around you in your household, the children. I mean, you got to be responsible if you leave it in your car. I mean, there's certain bad things can happen involving guns. But a responsible citizen, absolutely.
Your predecessor encouraged people to arm themselves and to get training. He kind of took a lead in that. You're in a slightly different place. How would you compare your advocacy with his stronger advocacy?
It's about choice. It's about choice. If somebody feels they need that, our Second Amendment says you can have it. Perfect. If they, but I certainly would not push it on someone. And I think that's the difference we're talking about.
What are the rules about someone comes at 3 o'clock in the morning and they're pounding on your front door and they sound like a maniac or something, and you decide as a citizen out there that you're going to hold a weapon nearby? Okay, so there are a couple scenarios. The guy bursts into your house. Can you shoot him? Does his foot have to be over? Does he have to be standing in your living room? Is it okay if he assaults you and as he's running away you shoot him in the back? What are the rules?
I wish I could give you all the rules because there are so many variables. You have to have, there has to be a reason. There has to be some cause for you to take that type of lethal action. Your life has to be in danger, or someone else's life has to be in danger before you can do that. And so, you've seen the court cases across the country, where people are shooting people in the back and that sort of thing. Sometimes those people aren't just necessarily shot in the back on purpose because they're turning or they're twisting or they see you point the gun at them, so they're going to maybe make a movement that looks like you shot them in the back, yet they have every intention on they're going down to get a knife that left us just outside. So who knows? Is it okay to shoot somebody in the back that's going to get a knife to kill you? Sure.
Right. And
so there's so many variables.
In that particular case, you could just have the belief that person is going to threaten your life, and as you said, they may be turning to pick up who knows what, or they're going to run outside to get a better angle at shooting you back or something like that.
Yeah. Typically, somebody coming into your house like that, though, that's a bad day, and that's a bad day, and you need to protect you and yours.
What's the biggest mistake, then, to sum that up, that people make if they have a firearm in the house and they've now made the wrong move when it comes to some perpetrator at their door?
What's the result of that?
What's the biggest mistake where you would say, hey, don't do the following?
I think if you pull a gun, you better be ready to use it, number one. The other biggest mistake is people keep shooting themselves in the legs when they're cleaning their guns and things like that because they're irresponsible. So...
And that comes back to the question of competency and,
Yeah.
and understanding your firearm, and you're not going to be able to do that unless you're using it on a regular basis. And
it is a huge responsibility. It's a huge responsibility, but it's our constitutional right. And if people choose to buy and carry a firearm, good for them. I can tell you the people that go through the process properly and come in and get CHLs, concealed handgun licenses, those are friends, not foes, in any way, shape, or form. And I saw that in Eastern Oregon when I was out in the rural counties, and I think it's here too. The bad guys are going to get the guns whether they do it through the processes or not. But
Yeah,
I know as an officer, back for the last 20 years, when I would pull somebody over and they would show me a concealed handgun license, or it would come over the radio that they have a concealed handgun license, that's a friend, in my opinion, and that's how I look at them.
would you advocate if someone is being pulled over by a cop, what's the proper procedure? Because many people have a question about this. Personally, I pull both permits, so my driver's license and my permit, and hand that to the officer at the window. What do you think?
Here's what I would do as a citizen. If you're pulled over and you have a firearm inside your car, I would keep your hands up on the steering wheel and notify the officer right away that there is a firearm inside the vehicle. I do have a concealed handgun license. Okay, and then right there you're setting the stage, at ease. Let the officer control the rest of the situation as far as when to get your driver's license or when to get your registration. That way they can give you certain instructions, and if you just follow them, it makes the whole stop much more safe for everybody.